Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming a very exciting video. This one was created by Charlotte Holcroft and Morgan Turner, two of my absolute favorites on YouTube. Did a collaboration where they picked out different eyeshadow palettes from their collection that they would use for special occasions. So I thought this was so fun and I decided to do it as a collaboration myself. So today's video is a collaboration with Colorful Camille. I love her channel so much. She is a deeper skin tone than me, and she is the queen of colorful makeup looks. Every time I watch one of her videos, I'm just like leaving a comment going like, Camille, like, how did you make that look so gorgeous? I just need you to come over to my house and paint my face. Her looks are stunning. So you have to go check her out. You have to let her know that I sent you. Please leave her lots of love. I'm so excited to film this collaboration with her. From what I can tell, this lady is a busy bee. She's always posting brand new makeup palette videos on her channel. I don't know how she does it all. So I'm so appreciative that she found the time to squeeze me in and do this collaboration. So we are doing the eyeshadow palette wardrobe tag, but we are doing it with a twist. Since we both love colorful eyeshadow, that we are going to make it all about colorful eyeshadow palettes. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, just keep watching. If you are coming over from Camille's channel, welcome. My name is Karen Harris. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos here on my channel, and I do upload quite often. So if that's something that would interest you, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Without further blabbering, let's get into it! So for the first occasion, it is Wedding Guest, and this palette I've actually worn to 2 weddings when I was a guest, and it is the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I don't get invited to a lot of weddings, so if any of you watching are in my area and you need an extra wedding guest, like, let me know, because I love weddings. I think they're so romantic and beautiful and wonderful. So I wore this palette to my friend Kelsey's wedding. I also wore it to my friend Samantha's wedding. So I thought this was the perfect palette to reach for. I have just been so into the green shadows in this palette. So those are the looks I've created for wedding guest looks. I've always worn like the green shades, and it's always worked out with whatever outfit I was wearing. I love this palette so much. I can't wait to see what she creates for holiday 2020. I don't know how she's gonna top this palette because it's probably one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. And you guys know I love her cream to powder formula. I love her shimmers. This is the Natasha Denona palette that I would recommend to anyone that's wanting to try the brand. Okay, the next thing is for date night, and I recently wore this palette on a date night with my husband. We celebrated 4 years of marriage, and so I decided to grab for the Carnival palette. I had on this blouse that had these beautiful like indigo flowers on it, and so I created the most beautiful purple eyeshadow look with the Carnival Tahiti palette. This is by Be Perfect and Stacey Marie MUA. This is probably my favorite palette of 2020, unless something fabulous comes out in the next 3 months. That's gonna top this. I think this is gonna definitely be one of my favorite palettes of 2020 and in the years to come, but this is such a stunning palette. I love the mattes. The shimmers are beautiful. I could do a purple eyeshadow look with my eyes closed with this palette because it has the most beautiful purple shades. So if you guys have been wondering about this palette, I would highly recommend it. And I think this is perfect for a date night look. Okay, so for girls' night, I decided to pick out a palette that reminds me of my YouTube girlfriends. And it is the Stone Vibes palette. A majority of them own this palette, which is probably how my husband heard about it. But he actually ended up picking this one up for me. I was gonna pass on it because it seemed like everyone was making Stone Vibe videos. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to make another one too. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, it's not gonna happen. Everybody's already said everything there is to say about this palette. So I decided I was gonna pass on it, but my husband heard so many of my friends raving about this on YouTube and on our Marco Polo that he went to Ulta and picked this up for me. And I really like it, and it reminds me of all of my friends all over the country, all over the world that I talk to because of YouTube. So if we all ever get to meet up anytime in the next couple of months or a year or so, I will definitely be bringing this palette along. It has the most beautiful shimmer shades. I do wish it had a colorful matte instead of all the neutrals, but I understand not everyone's into color like I am. So since this is a more mainstream palette, I can understand why they chose the shades they did, but the metallics are gorgeous. The packaging is gorgeous, and this is probably one of the best palettes Urban Decay has done in a long, long time. So if you've been eyeing this, I would 100% recommend it. And I just think it's perfect for girls' night because it's sparkly and fun, like my friends. So the next occasion is a vacation palette. And honestly, if I wasn't trying to do all colorful palettes, I would probably pick the new palette by Stephanie Lange and Sigma, because that has a beautiful bronzer in it and a beautiful highlighter, which, I mean, if you can knock out a few extra products in one palette, that's always awesome. But since I wanted to bring something colorful on vacation, I decided to go with the ColourPop and Kathleen Light's So Jaded palette. I actually didn't originally want this palette when it first came out. I was like, oh my gosh, it's another cash grab from ColourPop and Kathleen Light's. But honestly, this palette is beautiful. I love that it has a ton of neutrals, because sometimes when you're packing for vacation, you want to bring a neutral palette because neutrals just go with everything. Whereas it's hard to figure out, like, if you wanted to bring 3 different palettes, like a blue palette, a green palette, you know, that's going to be excessive. So something like this where there's a little bit of everything, it's also a more affordable palette. So if you break it or you lose it or you drop it out of the airplane, like, you're going to be okay. You can replace it. But yeah, I really like this palette. Honestly, I wish I talked about it more on my channel when I got it, but as per usual, it was eclipsed by something else. But it is a gorgeous palette, really good formula. I think this has a little bit of everything, so I could do a really nice neutral look or a really fun colorful look with this palette if I was on vacation with it. So the next palette is a graduation palette. Now, I didn't really know if this was if you were attending your graduation or if it was your graduation, but I thought that this would be kind of a fun palette to do either a graduation attendee or a graduate look, because it's still a fun, colorful palette, but it's also, not that I want to say it's neutral, but it's more subtle, sophisticated than if I did like a colorful look with the Tahiti palette. The eye look I did with the She's in Parties palette is probably one of my favorite eye looks I've done on my channel this year. It turned out so beautiful. It was so easy to do. This is by far the Melt formula that I love, that I wish they did more of, because they've had so many hits and misses in 2020, but this is fabulous. I think the fall time is the perfect time for this palette. So if you've been humming and hawing, I would honestly recommend picking this up, especially if they have it on sale. It's such a pretty palette, so easy to use, and I feel like this would be the perfect palette for graduation. Okay, so for Christmas, I did kind of cheat. I feel like I took the easy way out, but I thought this would be such a fun palette, and I'm pretty sure I did wear this on Christmas Day in 2019. So this is the Christmas Morning palette by Give Me Glow, and honestly, it just has the most beautiful Christmas shades. There's some greens, some reds, some golds, some silvers, everything that reminds you of Christmas time. And so I love this palette. The metallics are gorgeous. The mattes are beautiful. You don't need a whole lot of work to get this to turn out a fabulous look. And yes, okay, it is cheating to use the Christmas Morning palette as your Christmas palette, but come on. Come on! It was meant to be, so I had to mention it. Okay, so birthday party, I assumed my birthday, my friends' birthdays. I was trying to think of, like, what are the most exciting shadows in my collection, and I decided to go big or go home. This isn't really a palette, it's more like a bunch of singles, but my Cleona shadows, I had to include them for a birthday look because they are so sparkly, they're so multi-dimensional. Ignore all of these other things in here, but the Cleona ones, oh my god, they're so good. So I was like, it doesn't matter what mattes I use in the crease. If I pop one of these on my lids, I am bound to stand out. So I really love my Cleona shadows, and I would definitely wear this palette on my birthday for sure. Okay, so for the office, I picked something nice and subtle. I thought I would go with the Wahala palette by Juvia's Place. I haven't really talked about this palette too much, but it's a good palette. Again, same great quality that we know from Juvia's Place, and I love how this is arranged because each row is essentially an eye look if you don't want to overthink it. It also has some beautiful duochromes and some pressed glitters, which I don't mind, but I feel like this would be a perfect look for the office because these shades right here would be so easy to wear, especially in the fall time. So that's why I picked this one, and it's still colorful. So it checks a lot of boxes for me, and I really like it. Okay, next one is Erin's. And honestly, I kind of wanted to bring all of my Kaleidos palettes because I think they're so fun and colorful, but I decided to narrow it down and go with the Escape Pod. I think this would be so fabulous for Erin's because I still want to look nice and sparkly and fun when I do errands, and I would totally reach for this palette. I love their shimmer formula. It is so good. They recently launched the Fresh Fantasy collection, and they did 2 fabulous eyeshadow palettes. Those ones are a little bit more neutral, so I think those ones would definitely work for an everyday errand eyeshadow look. Probably the most perfect of all the Kaleidos launches they've done so far because they are by far the most subtle in my opinion as far as shade selection. So I picked the Kaleidos Escape Pod, and I just think they're such a fabulous brand. So I had to include them in this list. Okay guys, we made it to number 10, and number 10 is New Year's. I'm guessing New Year's Eve because, I mean, come on, who doesn't love to put on a little sparkle at New Year's Eve? And I decided to go with my Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette. This palette is so beautiful. You can do a beautiful copper eye look, or you can throw on this fabulous red. Of course, let's not forget her fabulous special shades. Those with the glitter glue, takes it to another level. The sparkliest, most beautiful eyeshadows I think that you will see on the dance floor will be on my eyeballs. So this would totally be a great New Year's Eve palette for me. I also think the Divine Rose 2 would be fabulous, but I decided to go with Bronze Seduction because I think golds and iridescent shades always remind me of New Year's and sparklers, so that's why I went with this one. Okay guys, that is the end of this video. If you are a YouTuber yourself, definitely film this tag. It's so much fun to do, and I just want to say a huge thank you to Colorful Camille. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to film this collaboration with me. Like I said, you guys, you have to go check her out. She has a lot of new indie makeup, a lot of new makeup eyeshadow palettes. She's honestly probably either just as bad as me or even worse because she's always got the new. So I recommend her channel highly. I think she should be at 10K like tomorrow. So if you guys could just go ahead and give her a subscribe, check her out, let her know I sent you. I will see you guys in my next video soon.